Good evening, Warriors, and welcome in to another edition of the R&R Sports Report. It is showtime. I'm your host, Randy Isbell. With me, as always, Robert Hagan. Robert, how's it going tonight?
Oh, it's an exciting night. We're getting down to the finals of the college football playoffs. Lots of championship games happening this weekend. Looking extremely excited to watch some of those ball games this weekend.
Yeah, we were talking about it just before we went on the air that Saturday is just jam-packed with football. As usually we'll start having Saturday games when college football's over, and then college football kind of got pushed back a little bit, which messed everything up. So now you get everything. You get all the conference championship games and a couple NFL games on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. Saturday is just as jam-packed as this show is tonight.
100%. We look at, you got college football, lots of playoffs, and then you look at the two big games. I don't know. You put the two NFL games on in the background, so probably like what I'm going to do. I'll put them on in the background. We'll have the grandkids with us, so probably baking some cookies, doing the gingerbread, put those in the backside. But look forward to watching Clemson and Notre Dame battle it out again.
And it is 10 days until Christmas. So do you have all your shopping done, Robert?
If the wife did it, yeah.
I mean, that's true.
Isn't that how it's supposed to work?
Do you believe she has it all done?
I sure hope she does. I hope she does. I mean, we're only buying really for the grandkids and the daughter. That's about it, That's kind of the better way. I mean, you get older, that's the way it is. I mean, you've got both kids you've got to worry about, but everything for us just goes towards the grandbabies now and spoil them.
I was told we're done, and then Haley went shopping today, so I don't know. I don't know what else she got. She did not get back home from her shopping before I came down here, so who knows what else we bought? I don't know.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, you guys have separate accounts, right?
No,
you merge them. Oh, see, I thought you guys had two separates,
So I just want to warn you. I don't know what the schedule is here at the sub next week, with it being a holiday week and basically the semester's over after this week. By the way, if you are an LC student, hopefully all your finals are going well here on finals week. I got both of mine in the next 2 days. We'll see how those go. So I don't even know if this building is going to be open next week. If it's not, we're still going to have a show on the Facebook and YouTube pages on our sports report. We'll just do it from home, and we won't be on the radio station here on 88.9 KLCZ. We'll make do.
Yeah.
Whichever it works. Obviously, I mean, if it's open, we're here. So I'll try to figure that out. I might come down Monday just to see if they post the schedule or anything. I don't know how all this works yet.
Yeah, but we're 11 shows in. We were talking about this.
Yeah.
We're 11 shows in. We're making things. We're making strides. Doing the live stream here. Also doing the YouTube page. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you go down below, click the like button, and subscribe if you haven't.
Yeah, the like buttons and the subscribe buttons. And again, if you are listening on the radio or if you are listening on Facebook or YouTube, Facebook and YouTube is how you can contact us live and interact during the show. We love all the comments that we get each and every week, and we like to have fun with that. And again, you have so much to talk about. We're going to get into college football here in a second. Of course, you have a wild week 14 in the NFL, especially Monday Night Football. We're going to get way into that, talk playoff chances for some of these teams. And in the second hour, not only are we going to talk about LCSC women's basketball, who got a couple games in this weekend. We're going to get some local sports in. We have our Western Conference NBA draft between the two of us to finish that out. A little bit of college news. Some rodeo is going to be on the show.
Yeah, I mean, they just finished up with rodeo at the NFR, which happened to be down in Arlington, down at Texas, where the Rangers play. We'll talk a little bit about that. Local people.
And of course, Robert will once again stump me, I'm sure, with his trivia question. But my favorite part of this episode, and the thing I'm most looking forward to, is a guy, our guest this week, who I grew up with, I went to grade school with. He's become far more successful than me, and that's awesome. But Gino Benelli, PGA caddy, will be here at the 7 o'clock hour as long as he remembers. He wanted me to text him this afternoon and remind him. And I did so. So as long as he's remembered in the last few hours, he will be here at the start of the 7 o'clock hour, and we get to pick his brain of the wild travels and stuff you have to do as a caddy. I mean, you get to go to some really awesome places, but he's had some hotel issues.
I just want to know how often he gives Joel a suggestion, and Joel says, "Nah."
Oh, I'm sure all the time.
Yeah.
We'll get into that at the 7 o'clock hour, but right now it is time to give our 3 big takeaways each for the college football week that was this last Saturday. As they got through basically the last week of the regular season, it is now conference championship times, and a bunch of other teams are playing just because why not with the way COVID is going. But Robert, give me your first takeaway from college football this weekend.
For me, it's got to be the sentimental one, and it's just because Vandy, Georgia got canceled this weekend. But Sarah Fuller finally gets a chance to kick a couple of field goals. She scores on 2 point after attempts. So congratulations, Sarah Fuller, being the first female to score in Power 5 football. But like they were talking about, this might open up some doors down the road.
Right.
There have been some great players that have played up until their senior years in high school, playing linebacker or some D-ends. I had a female play D-end. She got tired of playing in the back, and she asked if she could move up on the line as a 7th grader. I said, yeah, I might as well. You might play her on the end. And she first play on the end, she ends up sacking the quarterback for a 5-yard loss. So I'm like, okay, you'll start now because he was the only one that was showing any fire. So I'm excited to see where this goes over the next few, maybe next few years.
Absolutely. Breaking those boundaries left and right. We see female referees and everything. It's nice to see them get on the field. And as you said, it's just, who knows from here, and it's really awesome to see. My first takeaway was that crazy LSU Florida game.
Oh my God.
LSU ends up beating Florida, which I thought ended Florida's chance at making the college playoffs. We'll get to that. I have a rant.
So too.
I have a rant.
I thought so too.
In store. LSU wins 37-34 in a crazy fog game, especially the second half, where ESPN basically had to change their camera view to be able to see the action on the field. Max Johnson has a great day for LSU, 21-36 for 239 and 3 touchdowns. Heisman hopeful Kyle Trask struggled a little bit, did throw for 474 yards, had 2 touchdowns, but did throw 2 interceptions, 1 return for a touchdown. But the big story is Florida, who tied the game with 2:51 left on the clock with a 31-yard field goal. Then they shut down LSU. They put them on a 3rd and 10. And they give up a 4-yard completion. And you're thinking, all right, Florida's going to have some time, and they're going to come down and kick the game-winning field goal possibly and win this game. But then a flag hit, as Marco Wilson was called for unsportsmanlike conduct when he took the receiver's shoe and threw it 20 yards down the field.
He threw the shoe farther than he got penalized for the flag. That's what I thought was funny. But I mean, it's just crazy. Who would pick up a shoe off the ground to do this?
It's like an Austin Powers thing.
I couldn't believe it when that happened.
I don't want to rail on the kid. He's a young kid. Everyone's going to make mistakes, but that's up there.
That's bonehead. I mean, total bonehead. I mean, you got that close game. Florida's still in that chance of maybe making a playoff, and then you go and do a boneheaded move like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just silly.
And they don't. I mean, so LSU gets to the 44-yard line. They only get a few more yards. They get across midfield on the next play, and then basically get shut down. But Cade York gets a 57-yard field goal with 23 seconds to go to take the 3-point lead. Florida gets all the way down the field, but they missed their 51-yard attempt. So LSU beats Florida 37-34 in the second craziest ending in college football this week. We'll get to the other one here soon. But Robert, your second takeaway.
Before we get to that, you were talking about that camera angle. It was weird to watch. Most of the games we watched what they call the 22.
Yeah.
22. You see everybody. But to switch it around, all right, perspective of, oh man, I'm playing Madden. I got a guy right there.
Well, even off to the angle, I would not want to play that in Madden. You weren't really able to see the depth perception, but they were using the sky cam for a lot of that.
It looked really good. So I applaud ESPN for doing that a little bit. The next one was me watching USC and UCLA. I mean, I've been down on the Pac-12. Why did you start up? And we'll talk about that here a little bit later as Washington won't get to play in the conference championship. But USC was down 21-10 at halftime. UCLA, who's
right, that's what USC
ranked.
does.
Yeah.
USC cannot play a first half.
And that's what they talked about. I mean, they're well deserving of their 13 rank. They shouldn't be complaining about being ranked 13, anywhere. But then they come back and score 33 points in the second half. Keaton Slovis, throws for 344, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and hats off to UCLA. Dorian Thompson-Robinson also 364, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. So they just start slinging the ball all over the field. I mean, it was high-fire offense that second half and made the game a little bit better. But, USC, it wasn't the commanding win to get to what they wanted to climb up into a higher bowl game. They don't deserve it. No, not at all.
I mean, they'll make a fun Rose Bowl game, but no, not for the college playoffs. But again, we're going to get to that because, oh man, I'm so glad I don't watch that live when they announce the top 4. All right, so I talked about LSU and Florida having the second craziest ending to a college football game this week, and that is because Ball State and Western Michigan almost had the greatest finish of all time. I'm talking like Cal Stanford levels of craziness. So 29 seconds to go, Ball State takes the lead with their 22-yard field goal. Last play of the game, Western Michigan does your normal lateral sequence. We'll get to another one of those that happened yesterday. I want to say they had 11 or 12 different laterals on this play. Did Western Michigan? Every position player got it out. Maybe one lineman touched the ball throughout that whole sequence. Well, at one point, they try to toss it back to the quarterback. The ball hits the ground. And a Ball State player seemingly jumps on it. So everyone on Ball State freaks out because now they're in the MAC championship. They're going to take on Buffalo. Well, the ball kind of squirts out of the arm of the Ball State player, and a lineman, rightfully so, comes in and just drills him, makes the ball slip out, and here comes Western Michigan through 50 Ball State players. You can even see the ball carrier just kind of stop at one point going, are we still going? A Ball State player at one point just hugs him because they're like, do I tackle you now? What do we have? What's going on? And next thing you know, another lateral, and Western Michigan scores a touchdown. And the refs call it a touchdown. So now here comes Western Michigan. They're freaking out. I love, if you ever watch any of the replays or if you ever watch John Boy on YouTube, he does a great breakdown of this. He shows one of the Ball State players doing a backflip on the field while the play is still going on. Come to find out, one of the lateral passes was definitely forward. It went like 2 yards forward. It wasn't even close. But the crazy thing is, ESPN is holding on, and they're like, oh, it's forward. This game's over. And as the ref goes out there to announce it, ESPN, in the middle of him saying what the ruling was, just cut it off. Went to the next game. Like, we're done with it.
I know you sent me the video, and I watched it. It was hilarious seeing. All I could see was, for me, Stanford marching band out there again, playing the horns, and that's exactly what came to my mind. So
again, Ball State wins that game, and they will move on to play Buffalo in the MAC championship. So that'll be a fun game. The MAC's just always fun. I'm a little disappointed. Obviously, COVID changed everything, but MAC was always that conference that was going to set up a Tuesday or Wednesday for you. Yeah. They've never wanted to play on a Saturday, and I loved it. Yeah. All right, your last takeaway.
Well, it isn't more of the takeaway of, I think it's, for me, should BYU have been, should they have played that game against Coastal Carolina?
Yeah, why not?
The reason what I'm thinking, you look at BYU and what they have, accomplished. They have the chance to keep moving up the records and the rankings, but then all of a sudden they can't get there. They end up losing to Coastal Carolina 22-17. But they handled San Diego State 28-14 here in the ball game and did really good. So if they don't play Coastal and they keep going on, does BYU make it in top 10 and get them one of the better bowl games? Right now, they're for me, they're looking in, but a lot of that's going to change, especially with Indiana not getting to play their game here this week. So that'll be interesting to see how that breaks down. But I'm not trying to take anything away from Coastal Carolina because, dang, dude, they have played an unbelievable season and against everybody. But both of us were kind of on BYU there for a while, and then they go back east to South Carolina, and then.
Honestly, I give BYU full credit for taking that game on short notice after Coastal Carolina's game
Thursday
gets canceled, and you get 2 days to get prepped for it, and they played one heck of a game. Are they going to end up in one of the New Year's Six bowls? Probably not. Coastal Carolina is probably going to take one of those spots, but I still think BYU ends up with a decent bowl game. But with the way this year's gone, I give full credit to what BYU did as far as just making a schedule up as they went. I mean, all these conferences came up with schedules, and BYU is unaffiliated. So they had to do it all on their own. And basically every week they went, who wants to play? We'll play anybody. So did it backfire there? Sure, absolutely. But it takes a lot of guts and a lot of fortitude to do what BYU did this year. And they played fantastic, and they're going to go off to a bowl game, and we'll see what they do there.
2 days short notice, on Thursday travel, 2 days, 2 days to try to plan and make something happen, and have to go all the way across the country. I mean, it's tough. I mean, hands down tough. But that's the entire season. I mean, that's everybody. So it'll be interesting to see where BYU falls after Sunday selection and all that.
Yeah. My third takeaway kind of got blown up by the college playoff rankings that just came out a couple hours ago. But mine was the playoff picture starting to clear up a little bit with Florida losing, Miami losing a couple of top 10 teams, Alabama rolled. We already knew Clemson and Notre Dame were set for the ACC championship game this week. Ohio State, we talked about on Tuesday, having their game with Michigan canceled, and now here comes the Big Ten changing things up so Ohio State can play in the Big Ten championship game. I honestly don't think that affects their playoff hopes, whether it's the championship game or not. They're going to play an okay Big Ten opponent, and I don't think that the playoff committee really cared if they were Big Ten champions or not. Obviously, if they lose this game, it matters. But, and we're going to get right into it now with the rankings, because this is ridiculous to me. Florida, who loses to an LSU team who has to win this week to be the first defending champion not to have a losing record in a lot of years. I forget what the number was, but it's a ridiculous amount. Florida loses to LSU and only drops one spot from 6th to 7th, which is the only reason this is the case. And Eric Watkins from the kickoff says it perfectly because ESPN really cares too. Those rankings only move Florida down one spot because they want that SEC championship game to matter a lot.
Mm-hmm. But I looked at the schedule last week and we talked about it. I mean, the competition that Ohio State had, I don't understand where they're getting it. And I understand that the college football playoffs want to make money. And it's like Duke said, it's all about NCAA, the commercials, making Dr. Pepper the main sponsor, AT&T, all those guys getting, making them money and happy, and college football happy. But come on, guys. Ohio State plays 5 games total, toughest opponent, Indiana. And you're going to sneak them all the way up. Same with, I've been on Cincinnati and they dropped down. But now you look at that again and they're going to drop down even farther because now the Tulsa game gets canceled again. I mean, it's just that C word that we've hated all year long that has thrown everything in such a tailspin, to be polite about it. But it could be a real cluster, at the end, we were talking just before the show and I asked your opinion on it, and I said, okay, if Clemson was to win,
yes,
do we have the same top 4?
I believe so. Unless it's a complete blowout, But Notre Dame has already beat Clemson, yes, without Trevor Lawrence. So I think if Clemson beats Notre Dame and it's close, I think the playoff committee goes, all right, cool. They'll make sure that Clemson is a 2 or 3, and they'll make Notre Dame 4 to make sure they don't play each other in the semifinals. But I do believe if Clemson beats Notre Dame, then both of them are in. And then as long as Alabama and Ohio, I think Alabama's in no matter what. But Ohio State, if they win, they're in. But Alabama, there's no one else that's undefeated that's close, because obviously they're disrespecting some of these other teams. But a one-loss Alabama team's not going to drop out. I know they dropped Florida only 1 spot to 7, but are you telling me a 2-loss Florida team, even if they beat Alabama, is going to replace Alabama in the playoffs?
No, I don't think so. But here's what it came down to, and I told you, I said I wanted to talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
What about the same idea is kind of what they do for NCAA basketball? Do you take the winner of each of the conferences, which is, I believe, 16 conferences that play total? Maybe that's just basketball. I have to check the number of them. But why not take the winner of each of those conferences, and then the rest of them?
10.
Yeah, so take those top 10, and then take 6 more teams.
It's never going to happen.
And make it a 16.
I shouldn't say never. It's not going to happen in the next 10 years.
No, but here's the thing. I mean, who gets screwed out of this?
Nobody.
Coastal Carolina. I mean, you look at Coastal Carolina. You look at how they've played. You look at Louisiana, 9-1. They've played decent.
Listen, the argument is always going to be that expanding the playoffs is going to kill the bowl games. The bowl games are dead. The only people that watch all 40 bowl games are ridiculous gamblers or alumni or fans of those schools that are in the bowl game. I'm not saying you need to get rid of all the bowl games. Just it's an extra way to make money, and it's a cool way to finish off a year for some of these schools. But expanding the playoffs is not going to make those bowl games mean any less than what they do now.
And that's the thing. We go back. It's all about money. But how many more of these bowl games? We've talked about this a few episodes ago. Mm-hmm. But how many of these games are actually going to cancel themselves out again?
Oh yeah, we're already getting a few that are getting canceled.
So I mean, why not?
Obviously, it's not going to happen for a while.
Attach a name if you want. Attach a name. Get a sponsor. Let's do it. I mean, make the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. You know, the Mac turn.
And actually, looking at some of these bowls right now, I was talking about BYU getting a good bowl. They've already set up with UCF in the Boca Raton Bowl on December 22nd. So never mind BYU. I apologize. You don't get a good bowl.
Yeah, but they get a vacation.
Sure. Absolutely. That's fine.
It's all about, and we were talking a few minutes ago, we'll ask Gino when he gets here. You know, he gets done with Christmas, and then he gets to go over to Hawaii for a couple of weeks.
All right. Let's get to next week. All of the conference championships. Give me 2 that you absolutely have to watch.
2 that I'm going to watch. I want to see if Northwestern can hold their own against Ohio State. Northwestern right now is a 20-point dog, 20.5 dog, I think, if I remember right. And the other one is, I mean, hands down, it's got to be Clemson, Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. I want to see the rematch, even though it is going to be in at Clemson, so it'll be interesting to see what that game turns out. But there's tons of games that I would be interested in. Unfortunately, the grandkids will be over, and so I won't be watching a lot of them.
They'll be on in the background.
Yeah.
And again, you have NFL stuff.
I'll record them.
I want to see Alabama, Florida, just to see if Florida can even make it close. And that could, again, I think the playoff committee really set that up, and with Florida only dropping 1 spot. So if Florida beats Alabama, I'm curious what everyone's going to talk about. Obviously, Clemson, Notre Dame is up there as well. But I'm going to keep my eye on Louisville and Coastal Carolina, the Sun Belt Championship. Mm-hmm. Coastal Carolina right now, I want to say they were 12th or 13th in the college football playoffs, which obviously they're not going to get to the top 4. They were 9th in the AP poll, so I just want to see if they can finish off this regular season and get the Sun Belt championship, and then figure out who they're playing in January at that point.
You know, and I've been on Cincinnati all year. I really like the way they play, and it sucks that the AAC championship game with Tulsa is done, because Tulsa was ranked too. Tulsa stayed up there for most of the year, and, you know, but at the bottom they were 24, and that's where they were in. So, you know, that one's a little disheartening, you know, but we do get Cougars if you want to watch a 1-2 team take on a 2-2 team. No, it's not a conference championship, but, you know, that starts at 10:30.
Hey, I asked you before, if WSU wins that game and finish 2-2, they make a bowl game, right?
Maybe they're the Potato Bowl game.
That's already been set up too.
Has it? Yeah, I haven't even. You know, this is the first time in probably years that I have not looked at any bowl stuff, and I know all that stuff will be out a ton on Sunday, but yeah, you know, I haven't. Usually, I prep it a little bit early to get to start looking at it, but not even interested.
Famous Idaho Potato Bowl is Tulane in Nevada. Just so you know. Yeah, because of the bowl games.
Go Tulane.
All right, let's move. I'm tired. The playoffs are driving me nuts.
That's why we need to take the championships of everyone.
All right, let's get to the NFL. Let's talk news. And an interesting thing that I saw today, one of the NFL wildcard games on January 10th will have a special presentation on Nickelodeon. And I don't know if you've seen this video, but they do all sorts of craziness on this commercial that I watched, as far as the different graphics that they're using. They're going to have a bunch of special appearances from either Nickelodeon stars or these young stars that kids know and are into. And honestly, I give full credit to NFL for attempting to reach out to that younger generation. I wish baseball would do more stuff like this. Baseball, instead, you can watch the regular broadcast on ESPN, or on ESPN2. It's the exact same broadcast, but with way more stats. And you're not going to get new fans with the StatCast. It's fantastic, and for nerds like me, I love that stuff. But I love this as far as just a different way to present your game and try to get a younger generation involved.
Yeah, I think that's the same thing, you know, what they were trying to do when March Madness went to TNT and TBS. I'm just trying to catch somebody that doesn't normally watch it, but
yeah, but they don't do anything different.
Yeah.
Right. No. As far as the broadcast goes, you're not going to have. I'm telling you, I'll send you this link.
I have to watch the commercials. See what they do.
On this thing, they had SpongeBob between the goalposts when they were kicking the field goal. They had, every time somebody scored a touchdown, the whole end zone went nuts. They had all sort, like when there was a big hit on a replay, they had all these animations and stuff with it. I don't know how they'll do it live, but I mean, just the way it looked was really, really cool.
You know, I'm like you. I kind of like that stat, yeah, the view and all that. You know, they do that when it's the championship game for college football, and you get to, okay, whose view you want to watch. But I don't know what Nickelodeon's going to do. I mean, I don't understand what they're going to do to try to.
You're going to be into it. I think that's how you're going to watch the game. It's going to be Baltimore and somebody, and you're going to watch the Nickelodeon broadcast. But I forget, it was two CBS guys, and I'm going to blank on their names now, as who are doing the play-by-play. I mean, would you rather it's two of the lower level CBS guys, or do you want to listen to Joe Buck?
No, he's over on Fox, but I don't think I want to listen to Tony Romo and Jim Nantz. No.
News story just for me, because it just made me laugh this week.
I was telling Denise about this.
The 2020 Walter Payton Man of the Year nominees are out, and this is a fantastic award. Every team nominates one player who's done a lot of local charity work and, you know, helped out their community the most, and they're just all around great guys that are getting nominated for this award. And every team nominates one, and then when we're giving out all the MVPs and stuff, they announce who the winner is. The New York Jets nominated Pierre Desir, who's great.
Well deserving.
Fantastic person, but he no longer plays for the Jets. They cut him before nominating him. He's a Baltimore Raven. So technically, the Baltimore Ravens have two Walter Payton Man of the Year nominees. Yeah. Congratulations, Baltimore.
Yeah, Bozeman's one of them. And when you told me that, I kind of laughed. I got a good chuckle out of it. I was like, what else can your New York Jets do this year
They can't even do the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee correctly.
And who did they have in the next 3 weeks? I forget your schedule the next 3
They
weeks.
get the Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots. And I already told you they're beating the Browns because that's just what the Jets do.
Well, they've got to do something. They got to make up after, Baker will make up this week, but you never know.
Las Vegas Raiders fired their defensive coordinator, Paul Guenther. Rod Marinelli is going to be the interim coach. Do you think Matt Patricia ends up as a Raiders defensive coordinator?
There's a strong possibility.
Tony Barton brought that up to me, a buddy of ours. He's a Raiders fan. He asked me who I thought was going to be the next Raiders defensive coordinator. I told him Greg Williams, just because I wanted to flip him some crap. But honestly, he said he went that route, and I think I like it.
I have one,
Yeah.
but I'm going to wait until we get to my part, because when we talk about our 3 big takeaways, because I think there's going to be another defensive coach that gets fired at the end of the season that I would find would be probably a little bit better placement for Patricia. It might make Tony upset, but I think there might be another firing coming up a little.
All right, we'll get to
Maybe
that.
I'm
Nice foreshadowing.
Yes.
The NFL's announced that there will be no local bubbles for the NFL playoffs, so good luck, playoff teams, with your COVID stuff. That is kind of shocking to me that they wouldn't go that route, and they're just going to risk it at this point. They've also announced that season expansion will be on the agenda at their owners' meeting tomorrow. I thought they already had that locked up, or are they just trying to work out the kinks?
I think they're working out the kinks. They're trying to go. I like the 7, but they're talking.
Well,
talking
this is,
7 to 8.
I'm sure,
they're talking 7 to 8,
and they're talking week 7 or 17 games.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes. And Henry Ruggs has been ruled out for Thursday Night Football, as he's been placed on the COVID list. And that is, there's a couple of Tampa Bay special teamers that got put on the list, but they think they might be able to come back and play. But Ruggs is the first one ruled out this week due to that wonderful C word.
Are you telling me you're actually going to watch Thursday night game?
Listen, I am in the semifinals of fantasy football. I watch all the games.
I am too, but remember, we're not talking about fantasy now.
Nope, I'm just saying, but that's why I'm watching the game. I have no interest in the Raiders and the Chargers, but I got some jelly beans writing on some of these players that are in that game, so that's why I'm going. All right,
we're talking Doof against Tony here. That'll be interesting to see how those two cover.
You're talking me versus Richie.
Oh yeah.
You are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM Lewiston. You can check us out on the R&R Sports Report on both Facebook and YouTube, as well as klcz.com. Plenty of ways to listen to our voice. And I have some ideas as far as to make it a little bit more palatable if you want to watch it later. I'll get into that later. But right now, I want to say that here at KLCZ 88.9 FM, we're always looking for new student DJs to help us keep the airways filled with new music, original talk radio, and news. If you ever wanted to have your own radio show like me, and you're studying here at LCSC, we can get you on the air. It's really easy. They let me on, okay? So you can be on if you want to be heard. Just stop by our office in the Student Union Building and pick up a volunteer DJ application, or send an email to KLCZ Station Manager at lcmail.lcsc.edu to get started. All right, sir. We're saving the good one for last.
Okay.
So I'm going to go first as our 3 big takeaways for week 14 of the NFL. And I'm going to start with Patrick Mahomes, who came into the season with 2 interceptions on the year. Well, now he has 5, as he had more against the Dolphins than he has all season long. Just goes 24 of 34, still throws for 393 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the 3 picks, and a sack that was like a 30-yard loss.
Longest quarterback sack in since like 1970s, mid-70s, but he just did not look comfortable at the beginning of that game. I don't understand. Was it Hard Rock? Is it the Super Bowl jinx?
I have a buddy who's a huge Chiefs fan, and we make fun of him all the time because Patrick Mahomes can never do anything wrong with him. And I think he came up with a really good reason as why we see this. if you ever watched that documentary about Michael Jordan that ESPN did, The Last Dance,
I'm about halfway through it.
Michael Jordan would find anything to motivate him before a game. He would make stuff up. Like a player would tell him good game, and Michael Jordan would take that as some kind of a dig and come back the next day and just want to embarrass him. There are players out there that are self-motivating like that. Patrick Mahomes just doesn't have that. He's too calm, collected, kind of easygoing person, and it takes a little bit of hardship for him to decide to click things on. Now he's so talented, he doesn't have to be really, really good. But we saw that in the playoff game against the Titans, where they go down 24-0 nothing, and then Mahomes just goes nuts. You see that a lot when Kansas City jumps out to a big lead. That entire team kind of shuts down a little bit.
Yeah, I've never seen the demeanor that he has. It just blows me away. I never have seen that guy get ticked off on the sideline. Every time you see him, he's got some kind of giggle look on his face. But even if he's missed a play, they come back to the sideline. There is no anger there. I mean, they're talking, him and Kelsey if they've missed up, or with Hill, and you just don't see that demeanor in his face. Could it come back in a few years and bite him in the backside when he doesn't have that fire, when some of these other teams get better and you won't have the Kelsey there anymore, or you've got a little bit older Hill? Could it come back and bite him in a couple of years, which is a strong possibility?
But the scary thing is, Patrick Mahomes does not have a great day, throws 3 interceptions. Clyde Edwards-Helaire carries the ball 16 times, only gets 32 rushing yards. They can't get the rushing game going in Kansas City at all. And yet, they still beat a current playoff team in the Miami Dolphins. Kansas City is that scary. All right, give me your first takeaway.
I'm going to save mine also.
Yes.
And doing that. But I think for me has got to be who flipped the switch on in Chicago. It's crazy to see how the last couple weeks has been for that ball club. The defense just looked extremely terrible last week, and you look at what happened. I mean, you've got Chicago defense finally looking halfway decent, gets 7 sacks since 2005. That's their highest number of sacks since 2005. Or do you look at Allen Robinson? That dude, he's trying to get 1,000 yards. He'll get there. If he didn't already get there this week, I know he was darn close. But I mean, 123 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yeah, 1,027 for him.
Yeah. So he had 13 targets. I mean, Trubisky was looking his way most of the day. Or do you throw it David Montgomery's way? He had 113 yards rushing and a touchdown. I think he had 153 or 154 total yards in this ball club. What happens? I mean, how can you turn on and off a switch?
Houston?
Well, and that's
Houston
the thing.
Part of it?
I think Houston's part of it. You look at it too, is all the carries for that running group went to Buddy Howell. He was the high yard guy in that ball game. Buddy Howell. Johnson didn't have much anything. Watson was just average. But I mean, is Houston that bad?
They've been really rough. Chicago, as you said, kind of been an up and down season. Currently 9th in the NFC. They do play Minnesota this week, both 6-7, both trying to get back into the playoffs. Obviously a must-win game there, and that'd be really interesting to see that game. Mine, Derrick Henry again. Holy cow. 26 carries, 215 yards, a couple more touchdowns. He is getting into playoff mode. And I think the Titans are really scary again. Tannehill has been good. He's not been great. He's been good. Defense has been pretty good as well. But if you get this Derrick Henry in the playoffs, they're going to be tough to beat. And they're really, really scary. We talked about it, and we figured it out. It's 156 yards per game the last 3 games for Derrick Henry if he wants to reach 2,000. And you said it was like 180-some per game?
191.
191 per game, which we don't believe will happen if he wants to set the single-season rushing record. But it's possible he hits 2,000, and he wants it really bad.
Oh, yeah. And the big thing, he's on pace right now to go back-to-back rushing titles. And the last person to do that was LT Shout out to Doof, your buddy LT.
Hey, shout out to me. He was a former Jet.
2006 and 2007. So, well, that was when he was still
wasn't
running.
as good.
Yeah,
All right,
he's still running then.
Give me your second takeaway.
For me, is McCarthy, and this was, I typed that in before the article and all the headlines came out. Was McCarthy going to be? Is he the problem in Dallas? I don't think so. As they've already said that McCarthy is going to stick around in Dallas. Yes, I'm talking Cowboys, unfortunately, but I don't think he's the problem.
No,
I think the problem is with the defense. I mean, I think here we go. Mike Nolan's out at the end of the season.
Yes.
Patricia would make a heck of a coach there with McCarthy. Both of them coming, they were up in the NFC North. I think it'd be a heck of a tandem there to go in this ball club. I think that's what Mike McCarthy needs, because you look at what Dallas is doing. They're giving up 30.8 points per game. That's number 32. That's last in the NFL. And last year, they were ninth, only giving up 20 points a game. So it's kind of crazy there. And you look at what Dallas is doing. They've given up 400 total points in the games this year, and just falling short of 300 scoring from themselves. So, 10 points is a lot to make up, from one year to another.
Especially when you're on your backup quarterback.
Yeah.
All right, my last takeaway is Jalen Hurts is victorious in his debut start over the New Orleans Saints, and probably the most surprising result of the weekend. Wasn't fantastic throwing the ball, 17 of 30 for just 167 yards and a touchdown. Didn't throw an interception. Didn't get sacked, which is the big thing. We've talked about it the last couple of weeks that Carson Wentz has not been that bad, but the offensive line has been so terrible that he has no time to throw the ball. And while he can run, he doesn't have that great of mobility, not Jalen Hurts' mobility. So Hurts was the perfect fit for a terrible offensive line, and it showed again here as he was able to make a lot of moves. 18 carries for 106 yards. Miles Sanders breaks off a big 82-yard touchdown run and ends up with 115 yards. And that was big because the last time the New Orleans Saints gave up a 100-yard rusher was November 19th, 2017. Can you remember the rusher in 2017? You'll never get it. Unless you've heard this stat before, you're never going to get it.
I'm not even anywhere close.
Samaje Perine of the Washington, then called Redskins, now football team, was the last rusher. He had 117 yards over 1,000 days ago. And now the Saints give up two rushers with over 100 yards as both Hurts and Sanders get there. It's a good fit for this bad offensive line. Is it enough to come back and win that division? Probably not. But it's a good sign for Hurts, and it'd be interesting to see what the Eagles do.
I still laugh about Doug Peterson's comment on Sunday, not announcing that, that Hurts was going to be the starter. Oh, I got to sleep on it. That's exactly what he was said in his news conference. I'm like, dude, this guy just held your team in the fire that these guys were playing with, and you're saying, well, I got to sleep on it? Come on, Hurts is so much better than that. And they played so much better, so it'll be interesting.
All right, Robert, let's get to your third takeaway, and I want to give you a time limit because we're running a little long. We got a couple minutes here.
The game of the season, yes, and you might even want to quote me on this. It might even be the game of all time on Monday Night Football. Argue with me if you think a different one.
All right, I'm gonna let Gino in. You go ahead and rant for a little bit, and then I'll be right back.
All right. For me, it has to be the game of the week. Like I said, either the game of Monday night. The Ravens come out 47 and win this one 47-42. The Ravens come back and they cover the 3-point spread, but oh my Lord, they crushed the over/under on that. Who would have figured, 45 points? That probably would have been the game for that. But I think all the back and forth there in the second half is where this ball game got changed, and you look, really, it comes down to the fourth quarter, back and forth, and here comes Baker Mayfield and playing well. And Baker, don't take anything away from Baker. Baker, I had a chance to see him a couple of years ago, and Baker Mayfield looked unbelievable when I had a chance to see him in Baltimore and play there. But he went 28 of 47, 343, 2 touchdowns and an interception, and he played quite well to keep his ball club in there. But you see Lamar leave the game and head back to the locker room, and all they're just saying is that they're going for undisclosed reason. Well, they finally got to the point of understanding that he was dealing with cramps and all that. So Tracy McSorley comes in, plays, throws a couple of good passes. The first series, out really quick, but Trace McSorley is maybe going to be, eventually play a little bit, but this is Lamar's team, and Lamar is going to be that guy here. And even Lamar's numbers weren't that big. I mean, 163 with a touchdown, but the more impressive was his 9 carries for 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like they were saying on TV, give it to the guys there on that ball game. Here comes Superman. He comes back 4th and 5 and able to make that happen. And Superman was there, watching him roll out to the right and then a dump pass. And that's basically what it looked like, as the safeties had jumped up a little bit, and they were able to get the 44 yard completion there to Hollywood Brown and score. But Hollywood had dropped a couple passes, so it was a little interesting to see what that turns out to be. Des Bryant comes back off the COVID list this morning, and that is some big news on that one. Also, Tyler Huntley is going to be the number 2 guy behind Lamar as Trace McSorley hits the IR this afternoon late, as all they're saying right now is just a knee injury. So it'll be interesting to see if it is ACL or MCL. With that, they are waiting for test results back. But Baltimore kind of controls their destiny. They've got to win and get a little bit of help from Miami. And Randy and I had a couple of chances to talk about this, but Miami does have a chance to control their destiny and roll out. But Miami, they have to lose for Baltimore to get into this one. Baltimore's got Jacksonville at home, the Giants at home, and then on the road in Cincinnati. But we need Miami to lose. And we looked at Miami's schedule there a few minutes ago, and they play Cincinnati, they play Vegas, and then they play Buffalo in Buffalo. So I can easily see Miami going 0-3 over the next few games.
As Denise said, you were sitting on the edge of your seat yelling.
Oh, I was.
I knew you were. I wasn't even listening, but I knew.
It was. I stood up. I sat down. She finally told me, she says, all right. She leaned in and gave me a kiss and said, I'm going to the bedroom. And that's the last minute and 30 seconds as Baker was making his way down the field.
So I had to go hunt down Gino. Did you talk about Lamar pooping?
No, I did not. I did, but he ran. He ran to get treatment, man. Come on.
Cramping.
Here comes Superman. No, he didn't. But I did talk about they were doing their Come On Man series, before Monday night game, and I can't remember which college game I watched, but a guy had scored a touchdown, come back over, sat on the bench, and then stood up, climbed over the top of the bench, and asked this other guy to come by and stand. And what does he do? He just pulls it out, and number 1 right there on the side, on the field, being protected. And they've got a camera shooting right at him while he's doing it. That's just crazy.
All right, we got just a couple minutes here before we get Gino on. So let's quickly, I got just a couple quick questions. We're running out of time for our football hour, but I wanted to get some Randy's Believe It or Not in. And I want to do a playoff chances edition. And let's go, the 7 teams in the NFC right now that are in the playoffs: Packers, Saints, Rams, the football team, Seahawks, Buccaneers, and Cardinals. Those are your 7 playoff teams. That's going to be set. Believe it or not.
There is a slim chance. I think it's pretty well close, but Chicago on and off, Vikings on and off. I think it depends on what Arizona does. They've got the Giants this week, so I think we're probably close to being set. I would say 98% sure it's set for the
Giants. Just need one game on the football team to get in. I think that's the best chance. I think the 3 wildcard teams are pretty much set.
Yeah, I think Arizona's going to stay in there, and it's going to be a three-headed monster from the NFC West.
On the AFC side, even though they expanded the playoffs to 7 teams, you have to win at least 10 games in the AFC to make the playoffs, believe it or not.
I think so. I mean, that's what I'm not trying to toot my horn, but that's what Baltimore's got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got to win out. That'll put them at 10. That'll put them in the final spot. So yeah, I'm 100% on that one.
Yeah, Miami is in the last spot right now at 8-5. Baltimore as well at 8-5. I think you almost have to win out at that point, at that spot. One of those two are going to win out. Can you get in at 10? Absolutely, but I don't think there's any chance that you can get in with 9 wins. My last, believe it or not, for you, Robert, is Pittsburgh is the team you want to face on Wild Card Weekend.
I think so, yeah. I mean, you saw the video that I sent to our page there yesterday. I mean, I agree with Colin Cowherd. Mm-hmm. I mean, Pittsburgh is getting old. I mean, you look at the division. You got Joe Burrow. Unfortunately, he got hurt. Yeah, I mean, but that guy, I'm excited to see what he does. We've already seen what Baker can do, what Lamar can do. I mean, I got the chance to see Baker and Lamar their rookie season 2018 in Baltimore as Baltimore clinches, and to watch both of those games. And I think the game that happened last night is an instant classic. It'll be one of those, and
very good.
If not the best Monday night football game, and especially crushing the over/under by 43 points.
Yeah,
so.
I think Pittsburgh, as far as the AFC especially, is the weakest now.
Mm-hmm.
They have no run game. Big Ben is getting the ball out really quick, but I mean, there's no depth to it. I think it's an offense is very easily stopped. And then just because, Robert's been giving me these stumping questions at the end of the show, I always have fun and try to give him an easier trivia question because I'm a nice guy.
I'm giving you options this week for your trivia question.
Sure
it's up to you.
They're hard and harder and the hardest, I'm sure.
Actually, I was easy.
Who leads the NFL in receiving yards right now in the NFL?
Who was that? I heard him talk about it. I mean, it's got to be close. Tyreek Hill's got to be close. T.Y. Hilton's got to be close. T.Y.'s turned it up.
T.Y.'s not even close.
He turned it up the last 2 weeks.
That's great. But he was a no-show for the first 13 weeks.
Yeah. Let's see.
We got power rankings to get to. Let's go.
I'm going to stick with Hill.
Hill is 4th and second on his team behind Travis Kelce, who leads the NFL with 1,250 receiving yards.
This is crazy.
On 90 catches. 70 more than DK Metcalf, who was in second place. Insane.
And he's been quiet a couple of games. Quite quiet.
Yeah, not quiet for me. With a good friend that's a Chiefs fan, I hear it every single week. All right, power rankings, Robert. Big changes as we both knocked Pittsburgh out of our top 5.
Yeah, Pittsburgh doesn't even fall in the top 5. They might be 7. Right now, I move the Rams up into the 5 spot, and they've just been playing quite well. I am going to keep New Orleans in there, even though they didn't look all that well this week. Taysom Hill had a little rough day of it, but I finally have moved Buffalo up into the top 3. I mean, Josh Allen's looking really well. They still have to find some consistency in the running game, but Green Bay and Kansas City 1-2. I'm excited. I really hope this might be the final hurrah for Aaron Rodgers. I think when we talked about it in one of the very early episodes that if Aaron Rodgers wants it, it's got to be this year for him. He has to win it.
All right, my top 5. I'm with you. I like the Rams. I think they're a very good, solid overall team. They're getting that the run game going with Aiken. It's starting to get a little scary. For me, I've talked about Derrick Henry a couple times already on this show. I think playoff-wise, other than the Chiefs, that's the AFC team I don't want to play in the playoffs. Good defense, quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over, and a hard-nosed runner who is at the top of his game right now. I'm with you. I said if Buffalo beat Pittsburgh, I'd move them up to 3, and they did so. So I'm a man of my word. So I'll put Buffalo there. I'm going to keep New Orleans, though, at number 2. I know they lost this week against Philadelphia, and it was really surprising to me. But they still don't have Drew Brees back. And I think with Brees back, that team is the best team in the NFC. So I will keep them at 2, and, of course, it's Kansas City 1. I mean, there's now a huge gap.
I think, and that's the big thing. Will Drew Brees make it in back before week 17? That's where I think that's where he's at. Maybe week 17.
I don't think he comes back this week against the Chiefs, which is disappointing. But they will get him in, knowing now that they've lost that number 1 seed to Green Bay, that he's going to need a game or two, week 16 and 17, at least week 17, for Brees to kind of get things going again. Let's quickly look at next week, and we got some fun games. We got games all over the place. Thursday night, like we said, is the Chargers and Raiders. Raiders have to win out to have any chance to make the postseason now. Got a couple Saturday games with the Bills and Broncos and Panthers and Packers.
Like I said on those, I mean, just have them on in the background, make cookies with your grandkids.
Yeah, and be switching between that and all of the college football championship games. Sunday, we got some fun ones, Patriots and Dolphins. I don't see the Patriots getting into the playoffs, but they will have no problem messing up the playoff picture.
I actually pulling for Cam this weekend. Come on, Cam.
Of course you are, as a Ravens fan.
I don't think I've pulled for Cam since I had him on my fantasy football league many years ago, where Mike Mitchell still owes me Pig Newtons. That's like years ago.
That's a long time ago. I remember that bet, or that trade.
It was a trade, actually, yeah.
Seahawks and football team. Again, the Seahawks taking on an NFC East team that for some reason has a lot of playoff implications.
Dwayne Haskins back. That's what I'm going to say. Dwayne Haskins.
Hey, I thought he should have never lost a job. This is his time to prove it. He didn't look great this week.
No.
But we'll see. And then, of course, the big game, Chiefs and Saints. Sad that Drew Brees most likely will not play, but this could still be a Super Bowl preview. Sunday night's a fun one with the Browns and Giants. And then Monday Night Football, only watch if you have fantasy implications. It's the Steelers and Bengals. It's not going to be pretty. And it's definitely not going to be like the Browns and Ravens last night.
No, far from it. But I think you look at Sunday night game, that one might be more interesting than you think. You know, what does New York do? Mm-hmm. I don't think Daniel Jones looked comfortable. I don't think they
I don't think he plays. He's
hurt. So look for Baker to come out and get a little revenge against the Giants.
All right, you are listening to the R&R Sports Report right here on KLCZ 88.9 FM. Make sure to check us out on the R&R Sports Report Facebook page and YouTube channel, and hit the likes and subscribes and comment and give us all that fun stuff. But right now, we're going to have some fun. We have a special guest in the building. It's somebody that I grew up with and haven't talked to in a long time, and we've been following him and the guy that he follows around on the golf course every single week. We got Gino Bonelli in the building.
Hello.
There, let me turn your mic on. There you go.
Check. There we go.
So Gino, thank you so much for coming in, and I know you're busy all the time.
Not for the next few weeks. So you caught me at a good time. We're off here for a little while.
So how has the year been with all of the craziness with COVID? Has it felt different out there? Or?
It definitely has. In fact, I didn't realize how much I missed having fans out there until just this last week. We were down in Mexico, and there weren't a lot of fans, but there was probably a few hundred just spread around the golf course. And having them out felt really nice. You know, hearing an applause once in a while. Sometimes, you might hit a ball up on a green and not know exactly where it's at, and having some feedback from the gallery, it's really nice. So looking forward to when things can go back to normal and I don't have to have a swab shoved up my nose multiple times a week.
It was something that I haven't thought about as just a golf fan of obviously you guys getting, like you said, the reaction of the crowd, of whether the shot was good or not. I watched that celebrity match with Charles Barkley and Phil Mickelson, and just their reaction every time they hit the ball and them going, was that good? Where's it at?
Exactly.
Are there? Oh, that's a great shot, and it's out in the bushes somewhere, or hit off a rock.
Yeah,
and you don't even know. But with the crowd, it's something.
Yeah. So right now, really, all that's out there is significant others, and there might be a random coach walking around here or there. So if a significant other claps, it's probably pretty good. So that's what we're always hoping for.
So I've been curious because obviously you've been able to travel all over the place as you go to a different location every single week. Where has been your favorite place to travel? Not just golf course, just
Good questions.
It was on the schedule and you went, oh, I can't wait to go.
I really enjoy the small places we get to go to. The Greenbrier in Lewisburg, West Virginia. They actually just, I'm guessing COVID had something to do with it, but they took it off the schedule going forward. That was one of my favorite places just because it felt like a PGA Tour event in Orfino, Idaho. It was just a small town, like mom and pop's stuff going on. It's out in the hills. I really enjoyed that. As far as fun stuff, Halifax, Nova Scotia was one of my favorites. We played there, I think maybe my first year caddying, and flew up there. It was expensive, I remember that, but it was beautiful. And I don't even think the results were anything special that week, but it was a place I really enjoyed.
So with the PGA and stuff, you're covering all of those costs, right? It's
Correct.
not anything that's in a contract or anything.
That's all on me.
You have to show up and
price line everything, and sleeping in dirty, cheap motel rooms. I'm a pretty cheap guy by nature, so I try to save every penny I can.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing we were talking about, and we shared the video the other day, and I asked Randy, I said, how many times do you tell Joel something or make a suggestion, and he just kind of blows you off and does something?
I might. It's funny because I don't know how much he actually physically listens to me. I might be speaking, and he could be thinking about something else. And we do this multiple times around because Joel doesn't pack a yardage book, so I do all the numbers. And the way it works, I generally give him the number to the front of the green and then the hole, and anything's, if we're trying to hit it over a bunker or over a ridge, I'll give him any important information about the green depth and things like that. So I might say 175 to the top of the ridge. We got 182 hole, and then it'll be our turn to hit, and he'll just be kind of standing there looking around. And how far do we have? We got 175, 182. Oh. What do you think I should hit? Where's the wind? So we have a really good relationship. He does listen to me for the most part, pretty often, but we're in agreement with everything, so that makes it nice. It's rare that we're too far apart on a decision, but it does happen. In fact, just recently, I don't even know the story, but he's like, "This is a 6-iron, right?" I'm like, "This is an 8-iron." He's like, "Oh, let's compromise. Let's hit 7 then, I guess." But things like that happen.
Well, and we just shared that video, and I think it came from, your Twitter page, wasn't it? The video where I saw him. He was monkeying around with his handles for
his
putting.
His putting grip. Yeah, that was funny because he was putting fine, but just randomly he was standing there talking to one of his buddies on the putting green, and he separated his hands, about 4 to 6 inches apart between them, and he just kind of started putting like Happy Gilmore and making everything. And he looks at me and goes, and I just shook my head. I'm like, no. He goes, I have to do this. He goes, I make everything. Watch. And then I was rolling 20 footers in. And he goes, I can't miss. I was like, you cannot putt like that. So the day went on, and he actually played okay, hit it nice, and was putting fine, and they just weren't going in really. It looked like he was hitting putts, and he was getting frustrated. And on the 17th hole of the day, he hit it in there to about 8 feet. And I wasn't really paying attention. I was kind of looking down at my yardage book, and I looked up right as he's taking us back, and his hands are about 6 inches apart. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he made it. And he looked at me, and we both started laughing. And then we go to the 18th hole, and he hit it in there again about 10, 12 feet. And I knew he was going to do it again. Sure enough, separated the hands and rolled it in for another birdie, finished birdie. And then the next day, he was like, what do I do now? I honestly don't know. Whatever makes the ball go in.
Yeah.
So first hole of the day, he did it and stuck with it all day.
Hey, Robert and I are big bowlers, and we can attest that sometimes you just change the dumbest thing that shouldn't work, and for whatever reason, it just makes things feel
just
better.
Clicks.
And absolutely. So we do have a question from the audience here. Tony Barden wants me to ask you: is your mouth still on fire from the one chip challenge?
That thing was hot, but it's not something I want to ever do again. And
then you played a whole hole.
Yeah, so that the 17th at TPC Sawgrass is kind of an island green. So each year they have a caddy closest to the pin contest. And unfortunately, I had to eat that chip before I hit my official caddy shot. And thankfully, it didn't quite kick in all the way by the time I hit it. But shortly after, I thought I needed medical attention. It was rough.
Yeah, I've seen that video and you talking about back when you broke both arms. I'm like, man, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was like 7th grade or something.
It was 7th grade, yeah. One of the first couple of weeks of 7th grade, walking around with 2 casts on. Poor guy.
So you were talking about how you're kind of a cheap guy, and that worked out against your favor one time for the U.S. Open.
Yeah. That kind of speaks to my cheapness, I guess.
In a way, it turned out great because it might be your most popular video you've made, which I see it all the time. PGA will come out with different highlight videos. You and Joel are just hilarious. So you end up on there every week.
I guess we're just stupid enough to make their content on a weekly basis. But yeah, so it worked out where I landed in New Jersey, and I had an Airbnb reserved for the week. And the gal canceled on me like as I'm still on the airplane. I took my phone off airplane mode, and my notifications come through and said, "Sorry, so and so's canceled your reservation." Oh no, she hasn't. I already had the address and knew where I was going and whatnot. And so I called her. She didn't answer. I was like, I'm just gonna drive out there anyways. So I shot her a message. I'm like, "Sorry, I really need this place to stay." Blah blah blah. I head out there and I'm almost there, and she calls me back and she's like, "The place isn't ready for you. Please give me 24 hours and I'll refund you. I'll pay for a hotel, whatever it costs or whatever it takes." I said, "Okay, well, I appreciate the offer. Don't worry about it. I'll get my own hotel for the night." And while we were talking on the phone, I didn't know where I was going, so I had pulled over to the side of the road when we were on the phone. So before I started driving again, I just Googled hotels near me, and there was one literally 500 yards. And I called them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, $100. Come on." Perfect. And I've stayed in some gross places before, but that one, as you saw from the video, that takes the cake. And
fantastic.
It turned out to be a pretty popular video.
Yeah, absolutely. I know I watched it when you had posted it, and just had a great kick out of it. It did seem to make you really popular. I actually watched a clip of you on the DA show. I used to listen to that all the time before that station was taken off of here. Was that your best interview from all of that, or have you had better ones?
Let's see. That's probably Freddie Coleman show. I did the same day. Freddie Coleman and DA. Probably those two, I would say. Has
that been just the most wildest experience in this PGA stuff? Well, obviously, you obviously running into all these famous golfers that you grew up watching and stuff. What's been the most surreal moment for you?
Playing with Tiger Woods, for sure.
That would do it.
That's a pretty good one right there. Yeah. That was that 2nd or 3rd year on tour, and we get the text message with the tee time notifications, after plays concluded for the day, and it said Joel Damon and Tiger Woods tee off at whatever time, and I got a little excited for that one. It was a really cool experience. So that's definitely the top of the list. But getting to be around these guys on a day in and day out basis, guys that I've really idolized since I was little. Is pretty cool.
I've seen a few videos of you guys, like he said, having a great time out there and enjoying, not during golf time, but outside of it, the roller coaster rides. Tell me, what kind of things do you do on a normal basis, after you get the practice rounds in and all that? What do you guys like to do, a way to get your mind off the golf game for a little bit?
That's a good question. I travel with my golf clubs. Most caddies don't, but I'm kind of a golf dork. I'm obsessed. I try to play when I am on the road. The tournament days, it's a little more difficult because those are long days. But typically, how it works is Monday's a travel day. So wherever we are and wherever we're going, we just dedicate that day to getting there. And I don't usually do a whole lot outside that because they're usually pretty long days. Tuesday, we play 9 holes around 10 a.m. Get about hour and a half of practice in front of that. And then, we're done at the course maybe 1:30. And that would be the day that I might sneak out and play a little golf on my own. And there's a few other caddies that travel, and we get, go out and play for $20 or whatever it may be. And then Wednesday we play a pro-am generally. And then the times for those are really vary. A lot of times we're in the afternoons on those, so it kind of eats up your day. And then go time on Thursday. And like I said, those are long days. I'm usually at the course a couple hours before we tee off for our tee time, and they're long rounds. But
all right, so I have another viewer question.
Shoot.
From your wife.
Oh boy.
Who wants me to ask you your income the first 2 years?
Thankfully, she is an awesome budgeter because I don't know how we made it. I think for my tax filing purposes, I made $23 my first year of caddying, and people are always like, "Well, what do you do for a job?" I'm a caddy. That's what I did for a job. I made $23, almost $2 a month. It's great income. And I might have got it up to a couple $100 in year 2. So it's been a little better since then. But those
I need
first
to
2
talk
years,
to your wife if she can budget $23.
yeah, well,
for a year.
thankfully she's a hard worker, and like I said, that's how I became so cheap, staying in those shady motel rooms. And we've had I've put 4 guys in rooms like that before when we're on the web.com tour, and just trying to get by with as little as we can spending.
So I want to bring up, before we end this, something I knew was really cool a long time ago when you first did it. That was when you did the fundraiser. It was 2011, and ended up setting the world record for most holes played in a week, and set the birdie record for all that too.
Correct.
My favorite was when I was trying to get all the numbers and stuff for this, and you go to the Guinness Book of World Records page. The comments are funny.
Oh, I haven't actually read the comments.
There's only a couple on there, but 2 of them are like, there's 0 chance that this is even possible. And you have defenders on there, which is
Oh,
good.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, I might have to.
There's 2 guys on there
do
going,
that.
if that's like 5 holes a minute or whatever it ended up,
Sure.
whatever numbers they put out. But so how was that week for you?
That was probably the hardest thing I'd ever done. The first day I played 18 rounds of golf, which is 324 holes. Started at 4:22 in the morning and played till dark, and I was tired. And I was kind of excited getting going, so I didn't sleep much the night before, and I slept well that first night. But my alarm went off at like 3:30 on Tuesday morning for day 2, and my forearms were just throbbing. They were so sore, and the pad of my left thumb was like gone already. I hadn't protected my hands nearly well enough. So I was like, there's no way I can play golf today. And my wife said, just get out of bed, go take a shower, try to stretch. You got to try. I'm like, okay, so I got in the shower, did it, and it was that way pretty much every morning. But the first round was always the worst. And after that, the ibuprofen kind of kicked in a little bit of adrenaline maybe,
Mm-hmm.
and I just kept playing. And I quit on Sunday evening at about 7 p.m., which I regret now because I, in fact, got an email or a Facebook message from a gentleman in Australia last week. And he said, "Hey, Gino, I just want to let you know that I'm going to try to break your world record next year. Do you have any tips for me?" I'm like, I got a tip for you.
Don't do it.
Get out of here. So it'll be interesting to see somebody try, though, because I've had it for a while. And I've had it so long, I feel like it's mine and I kind of own it.
Mm-hmm.
So if he does, in fact, beat it, I don't know, I might give her another go.
That's what I was going to ask you. If it would ever go down, or if you feel like me and God, I'm too old for this.
Well, I definitely feel that way. In fact, this week I got home from Mexico and I went to open the door handle at home and my back went out, and then I was crawling around on the floor for 2 days. I couldn't even stand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. And then I was actually thinking about this world record thing. My back goes out during that. I'm in trouble.
So how did all that work? Were you taking full swings, or was
I
it
was.
just?
Yep. No, I was playing just normal golf just as quick as I could. And there were still people on the golf course. It was open to the membership. So I was basically just hitting it over everyone's heads. And they knew what was going on for the most part.
Did you have a faster cart at that point?
No,
Or?
so Guinness has a really strict set of rules that
Yeah.
you have to abide by. And there couldn't be any golf cart modifications is the wording there. So I just used a standard rental cart. But I think, going forward, if I were to ever do it again, I can get just a standard, faster golf cart, which gas is key because you can't be switching golf carts out, waiting for them to charge and whatnot on the electric. But so a fast gas cart that's naturally fast.
So just a couple of stats there. You raised about $15,000,
Yep.
according to what I saw on there. 493 birdies shot that week, which is also a world record.
Yeah.
That is 480 some more birdies than I've shot in my life.
I was going to say the same thing.
Including a birdie on the last hole, which I'm sure you
I
were
did.
very happy that it was just there.
Yep. Well, so I didn't know exactly how many holes I was going to finish on. Both my knees were really hurting the last day. I was just spent. It was hot. When I beat the existing world record, which was 1,850 holes, I played on my 1,851st hole. Somebody popped champagne and sprayed me with champagne.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, so now I'm all sticky and disgusting. I'm like, I've got to be out here for the next 12 hours still, or whatever it was, playing golf. And I just didn't want to be there anymore. So I made the decision after the 111th round that I was only going to play 2 more holes and make it an even 2,000. And I happened to birdie hole number 2, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. That's perfect. I was happy and content at the time. And then the next day, I'm like, I still had 2 hours of daylight. Why did I quit? So hopefully I played fast enough where Mr. Australia can't quite get there. So we'll see.
Check that out. We got one more question here real quick.
Okay.
From Susan Jacobson, who wants me to ask you your best Airbnb story. And she says it has something to do with about a rat.
Oh, yeah. This was in L.A. So in L.A., another very expensive place to stay. I was looking at the hotel rooms. I'm like, I'm not paying $180 a night. So I got an Airbnb. It was had these micro tents or micro campers. It was kind of a little compound. And I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, I guess. But I got there late at night. I walked into this house, and the house was more of a common area than it was a living space. And there was a couple random people just sitting around. Nobody acknowledged me. I'm like, okay, hi. And then so I pull my phone out again, trying to figure out where I'm going to go. It says, go out into the backyard, and your area is at the third camper on the left. Well, I went to the third camper on the right and opened the door, and it's like 11:30 at night. Some guy yelled at me. I'm like, oh, sorry, man. So I closed, and I finally get in there. It was the grossest little 6 foot by 3 foot space you can imagine. And there was no heat in there. It was surprisingly freezing cold. But I made it work. It was cheap, like $22 a night. I'm like, I can handle this for the week. Next day, we finished at the golf course. I get back to the common area, and I'm sitting there, and Joel had me buy him an iPad. He wanted to put some video program for filming his swing on it. So I'm sitting in this common area, hooked up to the Wi-Fi. Nobody else around. It's very quiet in there, and I'm kind of playing with the iPad, and I catch something out of the corner of my eye. I look, and Master Splinter comes out from underneath the oven. He was huge, and I was like, oh my goodness. And I didn't do anything. I was like, okay, is this real? And he walks back underneath the oven, and then he comes out again. He's just chilling in the middle of the kitchen. I was like, I got to get the heck out of here. So I waited for him to go back under the oven, and the backyard, I had to walk right past there. So I sprinted through the kitchen. I went and packed my stuff, and they gave me my $140 refund coming to me. But then I ended up having to spend some more money. But that's what you get for being cheap, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, one question for you.
Shoot.
And I'm trying to pre-schedule this. Maybe we'll get him. But do you bowl?
I really like to bowl. I throw a straight ball hard.
So if we can
get a recruit,
yeah,
what we got going on.
You know, Randy and I have been playing in this same golf tournament, and we do it. It's a golf bowling tournament. We we haven't really had a huge golfer since we've had Ross Button. I don't know if you know Ross. Ross played a few times with us, and we did really.
How are Ross's bowling skills?
I think he was like 140, 150. So every time he struck, we took his score. So
that backfired because someone couldn't strike.
That year was a little rough.
Yeah,
but we've been working on.
I had Gino talk
of your slice and your hook and all that.
There's technology that's helped with that. I had Gino hooked on 1 year. He was going to do it, and then he had another golf tournament. So.
Yeah, I know. That would be a lot of fun. I'm in for that.
You have to tell Joel no PGA.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, sir.
Ryan Neerum, if you're listening, I need the date. Uh-oh.
Hey.
Ryan Neerum.
Hey, you stop that.
Are we getting cut off?
No.
Things went weird.
So Ryan Neerum, if you're listening, I need the date already for August when we're playing the golf and bowling tournament to get him signed up.
Okay, I've got my schedule through the end of the year, so just let me know, and hopefully it works.
Now you're getting ready to go and play in Hawaii in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we go.
Taking a wife with you and all that.
No, just because the COVID thing, they're not. Caddy wives aren't really allowed to do anything, and Hawaii especially is super strict with their COVID regulations. So I'm flying solo over there, and I leave January 11th, I believe. And Joel always has played pretty well over at that tournament, so hopefully it's another good one.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming in and chatting. Obviously, telling your stories. I still got Susan's telling me to ask more stories, so you're gonna have to come back.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate you having me, and hopefully we get the chance to BS a little bit more because, like you said, I haven't talked to you. I don't know how many years.
Been a few years, and I was joking around with somebody the other day when we were setting this up. It was like starting to think back on my life. I had you around for most of my childhood. I worked with Ross Button for years, and I still can't hit a golf ball. So there's something really wrong with me. And
you give me some bowling lessons, and I'll reciprocate on the golf course.
But really appreciate you, and it was good to see you again. And hope you have a great holidays and a nice little break.
Yeah, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, it's been a great conversation. Hopefully, we'll get Joel back on, get Gino back on. Maybe getting Joel in one of these times to come in and join us. And it's always great to have guests in here in the studio. And so I'm excited about how this one turned out. And it's, I like the stories. I mean,
oh yeah,
I'm gonna have to remember the rat one. So.
See you, Gino.
Thanks, guys.
Well, the LCSC women's basketball team win their doubleheader against MSU Northern on the 11th and 12th. They're in Montana, now 3-0 on the season. LCSC named CC team.
They're 3-0 against Montana. They're 3-1 on the year.
Right. So winning game one, 66-54. Abby Johnson and Peyton Souvenir led the way with 15 points apiece. So LC has jumped out to a 12-0 lead and never gave it up. That's the kind of basketball I like to see.
And then you see in game two where records were made. Kiara Burlage scores 34 points and goes 18 of 19 at the free throw line, which sets an LCSC record for most free throws made in a game. Also her career high in points, and pretty cool for her as she is from Columbia Falls, Montana. So pretty close to home where she played that game. So congratulations to her as LC won game two, 90-84. Of course, friends of the show, Abby Johnson with 15 points in that one as well. Maddie Holm with 13 points and 9 rebounds. And Jansen Edmondson had 10 points herself. So again, LC is off to a 3-1 start with all three wins coming against Montana State Northern. As again, both the men and women basketball teams just trying to piece together any kind of a non-conference schedule right now as everything keeps getting canceled and moved on. Nothing is scheduled at the moment, but like I said last week, it's an ever-changing situation, so make sure to keep your eye out on lcwarriors.com as they will be posting games a few days before they get played as things kind of get set up and locked in. But Robert, we got some local high school. We got a lot of high school stuff going on.
A lot of high school stuff. Shout out, first of all, to volleyball. We've got some volleyball all-state honors for the Troy and Genesee girls. First team, Morgan Blazard from Troy, Isabella Rausch from Troy, and Claire Osborne of Genesee And on the second team for this group, Lucy Rainstadt from Genesee, Mackenzie Stout also from Genesee, and Carly Allen. So great to see some notoriety here from the local areas in the volleyball. So then we take a look at the boys. LHS boys were in action last Wednesday, as now the Bengals are 3-0 on the season. Braden Forsman had a heck of a game there against Moscow with 18 points. George Forsman, we call it, there's no relation between the two men, but Big Red, he had 12 points, and Jace McArcher there also with 11 points. But don't take nothing away from Moscow. Benny Kitchell's looked good. He's played since he was a freshman on that team, and so he's looking really good. Also with Tyler Skinner, they had 13 points in that ball game. Lewison's next game is actually tonight. They just tipped probably about 20 minutes ago. I'll have to see if we can get some score updates as they are taking on Coeur d'Alene, and Coeur d'Alene always plays them tough, always. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting. And then they've got a home game. Both these are home games against Lakeland on Saturday. Just add more stuff for Saturday.
I'm still not used to saying home games are not at Booth Hall.
Yeah, I mean,
it's going to take me a while.
You know, and I asked Corey, I said, so what are we going to call this new gymnasium? Is it going to switch over Booth Hall? Do we have somebody else that had made a major donation that's taking the name? And he said, no, not right now. It's just going to be LHS Gymnasium. So we'll see how that turns out. And so far, it's been good for the boys, as they are 3-0. Mm-hmm. And right now, they are underway. They're playing against Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, girls had a couple games this week as they fall to Post Falls on Tuesday, 68-43. Taryn Barney had 13 points as 8 different Bengals were able to put some points on the board. And then on Friday, they were able to beat Moscow 51-35 as Emma Hill and Jenica Ortiz both hit double digits, both with 10 points. And Lewison got to the foul line 43 times.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Was that a typo that you put on
there? No, it was crazy when I was reading it. The 43 times, and what, Carly Wilson is making these girls do, and being patient and getting to the rack, and then they're drawing the fouls. So, I mean, what's working is working quite well for the girls right now.
The Bengal girls are now 2-3 on the year. They're taking on Coeur d'Alene today at 5:30, so that game is over. We'll see if Robert is able to get a score update and see how they did tonight. So Prairie looking really good, both on the boys and girls side. And Lapway boys are already 2-0. Our old bowling buddy Zach Eastman over there doing a good job so far to start that season.
Yeah, he led Lapway to the championship last year, and interested to see how he does over the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we can get him in next week. I know they're getting ready to hit their lull as in 2 weeks we were supposed to be having the Avista tournament here at LCSC, the one big tournament we host, and I always look forward to watching Lapway play here against some of those other teams like Rogers. So it's kind of a little sad to the Christmas season, as you and I always work those games, and I was excited to see them. So
yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get around to watching something else if we get fans at that point. It's one of those years.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's go on to college basketball real quick. As Gonzaga is still your number one team, as they haven't played in a few days. They will be playing, hopefully, on Saturday. Again, the Saturday is just full, as they will take on number 3 Iowa, who is 6-0 on the year. So, they were supposed to play Baylor, had that game canceled. So instead of playing the number 2 team in the country, they got to play number 3. Stanford's still your number 1 team in the women's side, as they are 4-0. Louisville is 2, and UConn is 3. Some big games this week for you. Tomorrow will be really fun, as number 4 Michigan State takes on number 18 Virginia. Number 19 Richmond will take on number 11 West Virginia, who took Gonzaga to the limit in one of their last games. And then number 13 Texas takes on number 2 Baylor.
For me, for me, I know what the big shock was, but how about Duke dropping 11 spots in the men's side down to 21, and that's just unheard of.
I mean, when you go to, they've been out of the top 25 before. Honestly, rankings in college basketball don't mean anything to me. Honestly, if this was college football rankings, Duke would still be like 8th because they just want to keep them up there, even though they're 2-2. They've been off to a rough start, but I'm not going to worry about any of these teams who are just trying to make stuff up as they go along with all the COVID stuff. But once we hit February, then we'll see where all these teams start to land, and especially Gonzaga. But Washington State, man, I still am unsure whether they can make any kind of a run towards a tournament. It's been how many years since the Cougars have made the NCAA tournament? It's been a while.
Long time.
But they are now 5-0 as they beat the Idaho Vandals 61-58 on Wednesday, and then on Sunday they take out Portland State 69-60. And both games, at least they shoot over 40%, 47% against Portland State in that one. So starting to get the shooting up just a little bit. But once they get some of those really tough competition, I'm really curious to where they stack up.
Up on the shooting, but then all of a sudden the free throws have hit the bottom. I mean, we went from we were like 77, 78 in the first game to now after the fifth game we're back down to 58% from the line. We talked about it. They've got to shoot better. Bontons can't keep going 4 of 13 or 5 of 18. Things you got to get the ball around, but you have to score when you get to the line.
Yes.
You can't give up points from that spot.
The Cougars games this week on Friday they take on Montana State, and then next Monday at 4:00 they take on Prairie View A&M. So still some of the smaller schools, but a nice tune-up here for the Cougars as they will try to start their season 7-0 after this weekend. A scary situation for junior player from Florida as Keontae Johnson collapsed during a game on Saturday. He's in stable condition, which is good. There for a little while, it was looking really scary. They were saying he was in very critical condition. So it's nice to see things kind of turning around for Johnson, who was the preseason SEC Player of the Year and has aspirations, obviously, to make the NBA. So hopefully there's nothing crazy health-wise, and he's just kind of a scary situation. He's able to bounce back and continue having a normal life.
Yeah, and then in the things that I've seen today, Grandpa talked a little bit about being in a coma and all that, and he was stable. But the great tweet that came out today that Mom and Dad, he's been able to talk with Mom and Dad, the doctors. He even got to FaceTime with his team for Florida. So that's got to be a big lift for those guys too, as you watch a player laying there and not moving. So, thoughts and prayers go out to Johnson and the family, and hopefully he gets that gets back and is ready for maybe his senior year.
Yeah, absolutely. Rooting for him for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the NBA now. A little bit of talk before we get to this Western Conference draft is Giannis signs a 5-year extension, the Supermax, for $228 million.
I'm in the wrong field.
You're also 1.5 feet too short.
And probably about 1.5 inches too heavy too. I mean, I can't imagine what those guys are just coming down with prices and all that. I mean, it's nuts. I mean,
but honestly,
$228 million.
Good for him sticking with Milwaukee. I think a lot of people were not expecting that. Sticking in a smaller market like that, but when you get paid that much money, you are now the face of that franchise for a long time.
Oh, he made it quite clear that he said, "This is my city."
Yes, and that's awesome. We don't see that as much in the NBA, so it's really cool to see. All right, sir. I had the first pick in the Eastern Conference, and we'll run through those teams real quick. So in the Eastern Conference, my teams that I picked in our little challenge are the Milwaukee Bucks, Miami Heat, Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, Atlanta Hawks, Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. You ended up with the Brooklyn Nets, Celtics, Pacers, Wizards, Bulls, Hornets, and Knicks. were your 7 teams.
Yeah, I think you gave me the Knicks, didn't you?
It was either you got the Knicks or the Cavs, and I'm glad you took the Knicks, so I didn't have to. So with the West, you get the first pick and the extra team, which is a little depressing because obviously the Western Conference is always better than the Eastern. But give me your first pick.
I think I gave you my first pick last week. Did I not? I have to. LA Lakers. I'm going to take it. I mean, LeBron, Anthony Davis are looking for their repeat back to back. Signing Marc Gasol is huge, and also getting Montrezl Harrell along with Schroeder. This should be a deep team. Off the bench they should have no issues controlling the Western Division, getting back to the finals.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, the Lakers 2 years ago, the first year with LeBron missing the playoffs, as he was trying to build the team around him. Getting Anthony Davis last year helped him win the championship, and now he's getting those role players in place, and it's more of like the team that LeBron likes to play with. I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, LeBron has nothing to do with it." He has everything to do with the roster decisions.
Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be a huge drop off with Dwight Howard not being there or anything like that, or any of those guys. So I like this. I like what I'm seeing with that team.
All right, my first pick, I'm going to stay with Los Angeles. Give me the Clippers. To me, it's win now for the Clippers. You know, Leonard and George both are free agents next summer. I don't think the Clippers keep both of them around. I'm really curious. You know, Leonard last year had so many days off and those rest days. And now you have a season that's starting a little later and not starting as late as everyone else wanted to, and they're still playing like 70 games, I think. So they're going to be crunching a schedule together here and making games a lot closer. So how many games does Leonard have to sit out to keep that working? Obviously, it didn't work for him last year. It kept him healthy, but it didn't look great as far as the bubble went. They have decent depth, but I'm curious how Tyronn Lue does. Losing Doc Rivers as he moves on to the Eastern Conference in the 76ers. Tyronn Lue, has been a decent coach, with the Lakers, and we'll see what he's able to do with the Clippers and if they can get things going. But the Clippers are my first pick.
Yeah, I'll go into the second pick for me. I'm looking at probably a little bit of a shocker for you was the Utah Jazz. I really was back and forth with if I was going to take them or if I was going to take Denver, and something just intrigued me a little bit about Utah. Looking for Donovan Mitchell, probably to lead that team point-wise and play time. They do sign Derek Favors, to help out in the paint, and along with Bogdanovic, I think those two are going to control the paint here for the Jazz. And can I put them in the same sentence as Malone? Probably not, but I think they're going to help turn around that franchise and get them, in the final, in the conference finals against Los Angeles if the other LA team doesn't make it.
So I really like Utah. So I was a little disappointed you took them with your pick, but that will leave me the Denver Nuggets. They made the conference finals last year. They had a fantastic success in the bubble. We'll see if they're able to continue that momentum. I think Michael Porter Jr. is ready to take that next step and be a star. I don't know if he's ready to lead that team just yet, but I think he's up there to be a more than a role player, I think, for the Nuggets, and that's going to be big for them. My worry is their defense. They lose 3 big defenders there in Jeremiah Grant, Torrey Craig, and Mason Plumlee, and they didn't really find that much to replace them. So I think they're going to just have to outrun teams, and first one to 110 wins for that team. But I'm going to take the Nuggets.
Yeah, and that's a good spot because that's where I was at too. I was hoping they were going to fall one more, but I like my third pick. I'm going to take Portland. Lillard had come off a crazy season where he was scoring all kinds of points. But I think the big thing is the Derek Jones signing. Him and Robert Covington looking to add to the Trailblazers. But the big thing I saw was Zach Collins. I think reading up and dealing with all that, Zach has got to get healthy. Mm-hmm. If they want to make a big push in this conference, they've got to get got to keep him healthy and show some support. But also excited to watch CJ I know he's not going to get a ton of time, but CJ being the shooting guard and them taking from WSU, I'm curious to see what they can do.
All right, so that will leave my third pick. I'm going to take the Dallas Mavericks. I love Luka Doncic. 28 points a game, almost averaging a triple-double last year. 9 rebounds, 8.8 assists last year. Obviously, as a Knicks fan, I love Kristaps Porzingis, the unicorn. He's not going to start the season as he's coming off an injury, but I think he's a fantastic center and fits really well with Doncic. Last year, they had the best offensive rating in the NBA. Their defense is getting better. I think this is a dark horse team that could make the Western Conference Championship, kind of depending on where things get seeded out. I don't think they're a championship team, but they're pretty good. So I'm going to take the Mavericks with my third pick.
With the fourth pick, I'm going to jump on the Chris Paul bus.
Go right ahead.
I'm going to follow him. See if the change of location going to Phoenix. Look for the backcourt to look really well with him and Devin Booker and G Crowder. So, but they are in that win now mentality. They have to win now. There is no next year. It's going to be this year if they want to make a push. And I think Phoenix have got to really rely on Paul along with Booker.
My fourth pick, I'm kind of surprised they're still here, and I think it's just because Klay Thompson got hurt again. But I'm taking Golden State as my fourth pick, and I absolutely love this pick. We're going to do our awards and NBA Finals predictions next week, but spoiler alert, I'm taking Steph Curry as the MVP as my pick. I think he's going to do everything he can to lead this team. He is going to be the scorer since Klay Thompson is gone. He's going to lead the league, in points, and just have a huge bounce back year as he had his own injury issues last year. My only concern is how Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman fit as new players on this team. Wiseman, obviously, one of the early picks in this draft. The first, they had the second pick, right?
Yeah, because he was my first pick, and we were talking about players, and I'm excited to see what he can do. Mm-hmm. So, cross your fingers for Golden State. For number 5, I am going to go. All right. How about Memphis? We're going to go with the Grizzlies. They are extremely young. They are going to be relying on a lot of new kids or new men. Most of these guys are within 21, 22, 23 years old. So they do re-sign DeAnthony Melton along with John Conchar and John Tate Porter. And they also signed Justice Winslow and Dylan Bookster. I'm looking to see them just get 500. If they can get close to 500, bringing a team back like Memphis is going to be huge for this conference. You look at the Western Conference anyway. They're the dominant conference as it is and have been for years. That just means more if Memphis can pump up the stock, as you would say.
All right, my 5th pick. And I'm between New Orleans and Houston. I'm going to take Houston. I'm really worried that James Harden's going to get traded out and it's just going to fall apart completely. They do get rid of Westbrook and get John Wall in, so maybe that's just a better fit. Maybe that calms Harden's issues down with ownership, which I doubt. But maybe they work better together and Harden has a good time. I think if both Hall and Harden work out with the team and tough it out, they're going to be a tough team down the stretch. There's so much turmoil with this team, it's really difficult. Talent-wise, they're there. But, there's so much drama. But I'll take the Rockets with my 5th pick.
I was talking with my buddy Marty today, and we were talking about Harden. Harden is a me guy. He's a heck of a player.
Oh, yeah. The most me guy out there.
But he just is not a team guy, and I don't see that being good for Houston. I think he's gone probably by the end of the week. That's just my gut,
It's very possible.
I think I am going to go. All right, let's head down to the Bayou. Let's take the New
I
Orleans.
was hoping you would.
Yeah,
for me.
no, I just Zion Williams. I mean, he's the guy that's gonna be there. But I'm excited to see what Kier Lewis can do with Zion. 13th pick by New Orleans, but they do get rid of Holiday. That might be a little tough for that ball club. But I mean, look how young Lewis Jr. is and Zion Williams. Look for that team to they'll improve, but they just got to prove that they can run with the big dogs of this conference.
All right, my 6th pick. I'm going to take the San Antonio Spurs. They missed the postseason for the first time in 23 seasons. But I still believe in Greg Popovich, and I think he's going to adapt. You see Bill Belichick doing that, and I think it takes a year to kind of change things up. A lot of things have happened with San Antonio. So as the 6th pick, I think the Spurs can still make the playoffs. So it's a decent spot here for the Spurs.
All right, we're down to the last couple picks. I'm going to just keep it quick. I'm going to take Minnesota in my 7th pick, Ricky Rubio. Looking really good. Look for him to be the main guy there as the Timberwolves, but they've got to shore up their defense.
My last pick is going to be the Sacramento Kings. Most linked in the Western Conference, very tall team, very young team. I'm curious how De'Aaron Fox and Buddy Hield can be leaders or not. Both very young. Hield kind of has a little bit of attitude problem himself, so we will see how that goes. But as my last pick, I'll take the Kings.
Well, then that leaves me with the old Seattle Supersonics, which I wish they would come back, but I'm going to take Oklahoma. They're in a huge, massive rebuild. So, I mean, don't look for this team to do anything really major. Chris Paul leaving, going elsewhere. Al Horford coming in could be a little bit of a spark, but don't look for Oklahoma to do much in this year.
All right, so just a quick recap for you on the Western Conference. Robert's 8 teams are the Lakers, Jazz, Trailblazers, Suns, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Timberwolves, and the Thunder. And my 7 teams in this conference are the Clippers, Nuggets, Mavericks, Warriors, Rockets, Spurs, and Kings. So those are our Western Conference teams. Again, win totals for all of our teams combined. Whoever wins our little side bet that we'll figure out details to later. We'll have some fun. And next week we will go ahead and do MVPs and all the different NBA awards, as well as pick our finalists and championship duo. But Robert, it is now that time. It is now that time to talk about the sports that just do not get a lot of love on the radio. And since for some reason they gave us a radio show, we're going to give them some love. And for the first time ever on the R&R Sports Report, and I have nothing to add here, so I'm going to allow you to talk about some rodeo.
Yeah, NFR is happening. Just happened, finished up this last Saturday. I have not had the chance to sit down and watch a lot of it yet. Kind of waiting and hoping to sit down with parents and watch it because, rodeo has been in our family for a lot of years with my cousin playing and roping and all that. So we do follow a lot of it. It was just instilled in us. But we got a couple of local athletes that are doing quite well. Jesse Brown of Baker City, he was also a WSU boy. He is 13th in the world in steer wrestling. Made a couple of good paydays with a couple of great runs, both of them at 3.9 seconds, one in round 1, one in round 4, making 20 grand for a night, for 3.9 seconds,
Right.
Make 20 grand. I'd be on that, but again, it goes back to that frame thing. I think a little bit short. Yeah. So Jesse Brown, again, from Baker City, looking really well. Also, Macy Fuller, she was a Clarkson native. She is out of Whitman, Arizona now. She's 12th in the world in breakaway roping. This was her first NFR qualifier, and she did okay, just a little short. Through the first 9 rounds, her cumulative second total was 44.9 seconds. and she made it into round number 10 where she was at 2.3 seconds and gets a 6th place, falls just short of the top 4 moving on to the finals. So she takes home a payday of $9,000 and some odd dollars. So great to see some local participants in the NFR, which moved down from Vegas out of the Thomas and Mack Center down to this year down to Arlington and played in the Rangers baseball stadium. We'll see how bad that tore that thing up.
Well, they got time, especially with the MLB looking like they want to push back the start of this next baseball season to May.
All right.
Just so they have time to do all the vaccinations and everything that goes on there. So we'll see how any of that works, or if they push it back, or hopefully at least we know now.
Yeah.
When it'll go instead of things getting messed up. And I'll mess up our draft again, but that's okay.
Yeah. Well, the big story all week, and it comes from down in South Texas, is Emmanuel Duran, the senior from Edinburgh High School. He was the guy that you watched in the videos back from December 3rd that attacked the referee. He was a defensive player of the year last season. He was arrested on the 3rd, posted his bail, $10,000 bail, but they had some voting and some meetings last night, and the penalties have come down from the Texas University Interscholastic League Committee, who governs all of this, and they came down with all of their stuff for both Duran as coach and the team. Duran is out for the remainder of the 2021 season, and he was looking at probably being in the state competition for a wrestling title farther down in the spring. I think the worst part is they're going to give a year probation to this coach, JJ Leha, for a year. They also are putting the entire Edinburgh athletic department, all sports, on probation immediately through the 22-23 year. And if they violate any of those, then they can get up to another 3 years of penalties. Also, Edinburgh had won that game that night, 35-21 over Far San Juan Almo, and was to move on into the playoffs, and that was stripped away from them as well. So Durham was a great standout DL, defensive lineman, punter, kicker for the team. Just a sad story and just terrible story,
Mm-hmm.
Dude, you got to keep yourself in check.
And just because, we say we talk about all sports, Tony Barden wants us to know that the World Darts Championship started today, and First American plays tomorrow morning. So there you go. You got some dart talk
And I
here on the R&R Sports Report.
And you say that, Tony, and as I talked with, texted Randy a picture after the football game on Sunday. I was flipping through the standards on ESPN News. They had axe throwing league tournament, and was watching them throw axes. So find something you like. Everybody's got something. Mm-hmm. Whether it's cornhole, which they've still been playing. So
why not at this point? All right, we're running a little short on time there, Robert. So let's get a shorter version of this week.
Yeah, lots of sports happening. I'm going to keep it really short and sweet. We did talk a little bit about the season record. Eric Dickerson rushes for 215 yards and sets the season record for most yards in a season, 2,105 yards. Larry Bird ends a streak of 59 consecutive free throws made. Joe DiMaggio announces his retirement back in 1951. 1981, Muhammad Ali finishes his 61st and final fight, and he lost to Trevor Berbick. Baseball revises the rule book and changes to the ground rule of double. So when a ball bounces over the fence, it's no longer considered a home run. 1965, Gale Sayers of the Chicago Bears ties the NFL record for the most TDs in a game with 6 for rushing touchdowns, receiving, and a kick return. Joe Namath plays his final game as a Jet. Jackie Robinson is traded to the Giants for pitcher Dick Littlefield and $35,000. December 14th, 1953, the Brooklyn Dodgers signed Sandy Koufax, and probably one of my idols. I love watching this guy. when I was younger, Pat Summerall kicks a field goal for the then New York Giants versus the Cleveland Browns on the Yankee Stadium. Is he your favorite broadcaster? I know he's mine.
I saw this on here and was thinking about it. The two that really popped into my mind that just stand out are Vern Lundquist or Brett Musburger. They stand out as far as college goes. Chris Berman was really good as far as baseball goes. Vin Scully, of course, as well. There's so many. And that's why I'm trying to get into the career I'm into, is because a lot of these names. So.
Yeah, no kidding. Last one, Miami Heat win their first NBA game on December 14, 1988, and beating the Clippers, ending a 17-game losing streak. All right, sir.
All right, it's that time to once again snub me, which is really easy to do, apparently.
Yeah, it's going for the 4-0, but I'm going to give you a choice.
Okay.
You can either have the Joe Namath question with your Jets, or, which I think is the easier one, is Gale Sayers. You get to pick. We're going football.
Why in the world are you picking people that were way before my time? Let's go. Well, you said Sayers was the easier one. Let's go Sayers.
All right, Gale Sayers tied for the most TDs in a game. Who does he tie with? Who of the two? If you can name one of the two.
Wow. Most touchdowns? Who was Jamal something for the Ravens? What was his name?
Jamal Lewis?
Jamal Lewis. That's what I'm going to say.
No. Right? No. Cleveland Browns, Dub Jones. Remember, Dub Jones was the big name just before James Brown for the Cleveland Browns.
No, I don't. I'm 36 years old.
I'm sorry. Do you want to try the Joe Namath one?
Sure. Okay. No, that's way before my time, too.
Final game was against who? Do you remember who it was? And who replaced him?
I have no idea who replaced Joe Namath.
He didn't play the entire game. His stat line, Joe Namath only had 20 yards passing, but he threw 4 interceptions that game.
Sure. Dolphins. I don't
know.
No,
he played Cincinnati. They lost 42-3.
Okay, I'm going to set a time limit of 1990 as the oldest trivia question you can give me, because this is not fair. I'm an oldish person, but not that old, man. Come on. I don't know any of this stuff. All right, so I get stumped again. 4-0 for Robert. But now it is time to talk about the games that we are ready to watch, and holy Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be a crazy Saturday all around. For me, I got to go Clemson, Notre Dame. With everything going on, college football playoffs in there, there's a lot of great games the entire weekend. I'm going that way for that game.
Give me basketball. Give me Iowa and Gonzaga thrown in there with all of the football going on Saturday. Yeah. We haven't seen Gonzaga in over a week. It'd be nice to see them back out on the court.
Yeah, and one other one, we want to throw a shout out to a Lewiston guy. He is traveling. He's probably down there already. Andrew Whitfield of Lewiston has got a fight tomorrow night. He's taking on Emir Felix Marcial from the Philippines. It's going to be the second bout on the card tomorrow night on FS1. First bout is at 6 o'clock, so make sure you tune into that and watch our local boy take on the man from the Philippines.
And one extra one for me. I am going to be watching the Jaguars beat the Ravens, please. Now, I'm sorry against your team, but the Jaguars need to win another game, please. The Jets can just get the one pick.
Minshew will be the starting quarterback. That's already been announced.
Minshew mania. We need the Jaguars to win one more game just to give me a little bit of sigh of relief for the Jets to get that number 1 pick.
Baltimore's going to win out. I hate to tell you that, but Baltimore will win out against the Giants.
Jacksonville's going to lose out too. So
and Cincinnati.
That's fine. All right, so just one more quick reminder. I'm unsure about the schedule here at the sub building next week, since obviously it's finals week here at LC. So I don't know if they're going to be open normal hours or if we're going to be able to be into the building next Tuesday for the show. But we will be having a show no matter what. It will be on the R&R Sports Report page on Facebook and YouTube. And if not on 88.9 FM, I will let you guys know. Either way, on your normal internet pages, it will It might look a little different because we'll be doing it from home at that point, but we will still have a show even if they lock us out of this building. We're not going anywhere. But thank you so much for joining us this week. We had a really fun time. Thank you, of course, Gino Benelli, for hanging out with us. We could have done that for a whole hour.
Oh yeah, easy.
With all of the stories. And thank you to everyone that were feeding me questions. That's what I love is those road questions and having a good time. As Robert has just left the page, apparently.
No, it just dropped me out.
Well, we quit. Robert's gone.
I'm out of here.
And we're out of here too. Follow us on the R&R Sports Report on Facebook and YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, have a good time. Thank you to everybody: Susan, Holly, Tony, Denise, Eric, Mark, David, and my mom for all commenting during this show. We will be back next week to talk more football and all around sports. But for now, for Robert, thank you again, Gino. We are out.
That was weird.
Thanks, guys.